Okay, so tell me if I got this right.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
is right, right?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
hard to get that wrong, but that's spot on.
I got in bacon grease. Okay, I got the bacon here.
Yep.
All right. I've got some avocado.
You're all set, man. I'll be having the exact same thing a little bit later.
I feel like if anyone were to go to your Instagram page, like they just see like 50 pics of this.
It's eggs, bacon, and avocados. I'm like,
There
well,
you go.
that's what I eat.
My guest today is Yemeni Messa. I stumbled upon Yemeni's Instagram page, keto_head, and instantly wanted to know more about his ketogenic protocol and how it's applied in his bodybuilding lifestyle. Yemeni's journey stems from working in the food products industry and was recently the CEO of No Better Foods. This was a very interesting discussion, and I learned a lot from this interview.
Thank you so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Always love connecting with anyone else out there trying to figure all of this out and trying to find all of the fun hacks around, improving our health and getting better. So happy to be here.
It's funny because I followed the protocol of not focusing on what keto is known to be, high fat, low carb, and more so focusing on adequate protein and low carb, and not putting the focus on fat. But then I came across your page and saw that you come from a fitness nutrition background, bodybuilding, and it seems though that you put fat like pretty high up there and remain to be very lean. And so I thought maybe it'd be interesting to have a conversation of your protocol, basically where you came from and where you are today, and how you came across keto, if that's cool.
Yeah, I'll keep it all within the keto realm, so we don't bore anybody. But it does allow me to go way back. Actually, the first time I ever heard the word keto or even thought about trying the ketogenic diet was in the mid '90s. And I used to compete as a bodybuilder back then. And my goal has never been weight loss. My goal has always been body fat loss. And I draw a very sharp distinction between the two. And so I've always been concerned with how do I lose body fat? And that somehow led me to the word ketogenic dieting. So I dabbled with back then, not really knowing what the hell I was doing. But I also worked with a company that was very innovative, and the founder who ran that company, Dr. Scott Connelly, was way ahead of his time.
Some people say that I'm successful because of metrics, but as a physician, I've always measured my success against the benefits delivered to others. Different challenges to muscle metabolism. What do they have to do with your goals for building muscle and losing fat? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything.
And in 1997, we launched the very first ever ketogenic product line, which consisted of a powder that was an MCT powder plated on a proprietary protein, which is pretty freaking good, and keto bars. This is like in mid '90s. So that was like my first, and by the way, way ahead of its time. Nobody knew what the hell it was. People thought like, this is crazy, way too much fat on these things, and then so they never sold, obviously. But where I really stumbled into the ketogenic diet, and when I really learned a lot more about what it is and what its applications really are, which to me are not necessarily focused around fat loss, a lot more focused around health. But it happened while I was working at Quest. Quest is a protein company. They sell protein bars, protein chips, high protein pizza. But many years ago, we had, by chance, Dominic D'Agostino and Peter Attia visit our corporate offices, and they happened to be chatting with Ron, the CEO, and they mentioned you guys are missing the boat on one key macronutrient, and that's fat. And that was kind of like an awakening of the company to the ketogenic diet and its tremendous benefits. And the company actually launched a full line of ketogenic products like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Unfortunately, for those of us who are passionate about keto, all that stuff got scrapped when Quest got bigger and now has a much more narrow focus on what they do best, and not they're not getting sidetracked with little niche keto things. But so that's where I really learned, and learned about it and its applications. And my first time actually getting into ketosis and experiencing therapeutic ketogenic levels was just life changing. Like I was walking around with a myriad of health conditions that I thought, this is just what it's like to get old. Like I'm in my 40s now, all my joints hurt. I've always got, distressed GI. My energy levels, are up and down. So I just thought this is how you live and this is how you gracefully age. But getting into a ketogenic state dramatically fixed just a ton of stuff. And so I did like a therapeutic ketogenic level diet for almost a year, for like 7 months straight, without refeed days or cheat days or anything like that. It was just, I felt so great. I thought, oh, I found it. Like, this is it. Like, this is how you eat all the time now. And I got super lean and just felt super amazing energy levels, the mental acuity, all that stuff, everything that everyone talks about. But it kind of snuck up on me that I was losing muscle. So little by little, I realized, man, my workouts aren't that good. I keep going light. I'm going to have a light day. I'm going to go less volume today. And that started to be very consistent. And then I felt like I was losing mass. And I come from a competitive bodybuilding background. Unlike many people who jump into keto, who jump into it for weight loss, and their mentality is entirely wired around how do I lose weight in life. I've been the opposite of that. I've been a skinny kid who wanted to be into bodybuilding, and my entire brain's been wired around how do I gain muscle. So to suddenly start to lose muscle, I thought it was like, oh, so I can't enjoy the benefits of this amazing metabolic state being keto, and also pursue my body composition, strength goals, and fitness goals. And so that began the whole quest that I'm on right now to figure out how, within the context or the constraints of a ketogenic metabolic state, do I still get to pursue my body composition goals and fitness goals and that sort of thing. So that's led me to experiment and tweak around with macronutrient configurations and intermittent fasting and different levels of ketogenic, whether I'm eating at 90% fat versus 60% fat and all that good stuff.
Let's talk about fasting, because you just came off a 7-day fast pretty recently, right?
Yeah, I kicked off the year with a 7-day fast. Right.
And so from a bodybuilder perspective, many would argue on fasting protocols like the one that you did be optimal. Like how did you do so while maintaining muscle mass? And is this something that you would advocate to lean bodybuilders? And if so, can one thrive by doing this? And if not, why did you do it?
So fasting's not new to me. I've been fasting, doing 3-day fasts for a number of years, but it's been a tradition each year to kick it off with deep meditation, fasting, setting goals, and all that good stuff. Oh, and by the way, intermittent fasting, which is such a big thing today, I've just been doing it as long as I've been training. Many years ago when I was a competitive bodybuilder, one of the hacks that I thought many of us came up with was fasted training, which I know a lot of people shit on today. But when I went from off season to pre-contest, one of the things that I would do is fasted training, and that would help me get super, super lean. And so eventually it just became part of I don't ever eat before I go to the gym. But I share that with you because I kid you not, I've been doing that for over 20 years. And so I think so many years of intermittent fasting, working out fasted, and doing 3-day fast at the beginning of the year have helped me to become very fat adapted. And so going into a 7-day fast, and I go into it relatively lean already. I'm not, going into it with a ton of body fat to lose. I adapt very well. I actually thrive. I feel great. The first time I did one was last year. The second time we did it, which was at the beginning of this year, we did train, and I worked out my normal weight training, squats, rows, pull-ups, all that stuff throughout the entire 7 days, and had amazing workouts.
So outside of your extended fast, you still fast like regularly, like every day?
So the intermittent thing is every day. I almost don't even think of that as fasting. It's very easy for me to get up and wait until later, have a workout, wait until later, then start eating. Way harder for me to stop eating later in the day. Like once I get started, I want to keep eating, but that's normal, the intermittent fasting. This year I started something new, and that's I fast every Monday, so 24 hours. So one day out of every week, a 24-hour fast. And that's not only been pretty freaking easy, but it's been, I've enjoyed it. Like it feels good. It's like a nice little reset at the beginning of every week before kind of getting going.
Yeah, for sure. I also do 24-hour fasts, and I usually do them after a carb up. You also follow a cyclical ketogenic diet. Do you want to maybe brush on your protocol on how your carb ups work, or
Sure.
Why you even include carbs into your diet?
Yep. So I take a long approach. I think about the entire year, and I think about times of the year when I know that it'll be way more difficult to not eat carbs than not. So obviously, like the holiday time of the year when things kick off with Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all that. So it's during those months that I get to push myself in the gym more, lift heavier weights, and know that I can build some muscle. And so maybe for 8 weeks, 12 weeks maybe out of every year, I'm following more of a low carb, high fat protocol where I may actually be in ketosis, legitimate ketosis, 3 days out of the week or something like that. So for almost 2 to 3 months out of every year. The rest of the year, in either therapeutic level ketosis, where I'm trying to get my ketone levels up above 2.0, 3.0 millimoles, or I'm in just like nutritional ketosis, where I'm sitting somewhere between 0.4 and 1.5, 2.0.
Do you mind like giving us what's the difference between the two? Like
sure. First and foremost, my own personal experience. When I have higher ketone levels, I just feel better. Like, so when I'm in that 2.0, 3.0, my mental acuity is sharper, and my energy levels are through the roof. I feel more productive. And so I feel better. However, to get to those levels, I have to make some compromises. My fat consumption has to be somewhere in that 80-85% of my calories range, which does not leave a whole lot of room for protein consumption, right? So when the trade-off there is my fitness goals, my performance goals, my body composition goals, but I'm okay trading that off for part of the year because the benefits are that great. And then the more normal levels, the nutritional ketogenic levels, I feel great at those levels as well. That's kind of where I sit for the majority of the year. And I can, it allows me to have a bit more protein. It allows me to have refeed days, which, by the way, like I know a lot of people think ketogenic diet means you're burning fat for fuel, which means I'm getting leaner. And that's like the biggest like confusion or misconception about the ketogenic diet. Yes, you are burning fat for fuel, but unless you're in a caloric deficit, you're not losing body fat. So that's not going to happen. However, you're still benefiting from all the thousands of other benefits that come from being in the ketogenic diet, which can put you in a state to be more successful with your fitness goals. Like getting healthy first and then going after all this other stuff has been a better approach for me.
For sure. Cool, man. Can we talk about know foods?
Sure.
I come from a paleo background, and a lot of your products are grain free and are the legume free.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's amazing.
Yep. There's a few things like the peanut butter cookies, for example. Those would obviously have peanuts in them, so those are not gluten free. But everything else is just about everything free: grain free, gluten free, dairy free. There's nuts in most of the products, so that for those with nut allergies, unfortunately, they do have nuts.
Okay, and so I was doing some research, and it seems like the magic ingredient in all your foods is allulose. Can you tell us what it is? Where does it come from? How can I grow it?
So that's a good question, actually, because I know there's a lot of confusion around net carbs and sweeteners in that whole world. And allulose happens to be something that, is right smack in the middle of it all. So allulose is a sugar. It is not a sugar alcohol. It's not an artificial sweetener. Although it is a sugar, it behaves different from normal sugar in two ways. One, it doesn't have a glycemic response. So for whatever reason, the way that it's metabolized, it does not cause an insulin spike. It does not cause a glucose spike, so that there's no glycemic response. In fact, the majority of the people who eat allulose in whatever form report a blood sugar drop often when they eat it in any form. And I'm one of those. So if I ever consume something with a good amount of allulose, I'll have a couple drops in my blood sugar, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the other cool thing about it is that while normal sugar or any other carb has 4 calories per gram, allulose has between 0.2 and 0.4. I believe No claims 0.4, and so does Quest, just to be conservative on their labels. But in reality, I believe it's like 0.2. So virtually, it's got like no calories. And so although it has almost no calories and no glycemic response, it does taste like sugar. It behaves like sugar when you bake with it and cook with it. And it's something that you're going to probably start seeing a lot more companies use in their products. Right. The first time that I ever came across allulose was when I was working with Quest Nutrition. And we were trying to crack the code on bringing something to market that's like a Snickers bar. Like, that was Ron, the founder, CEO of the company. As awesome as Quest bars, the originals, were and still are today, like, how do you make a legit candy bar? And in the process of trying to develop that bar, they came across allulose, and it was incorporated into that formula, and that's what gives those bars that kind of gooiness when you kind of break them open and like a real candy bar.
I don't want to take too much of your time, so I just have a couple more questions left. That's cool.
Sure, let's do it.
On your website, what is it? Your new website?
Yeah, YemeniMessa.net.
On there, you have a page called Work With Me. I come from a paleo background. The reason I do is because I have a lot of autoimmune disorders. And I've been testing many foods for many years of what triggers a flare up and what doesn't. And there's really only 3 kinds of nuts that I can have. Pine nuts, walnuts, and my absolute craze, macadamia nuts.
Oh, I was hoping you're going to say macadamia nuts, because if you couldn't have that, I was going to feel very, very bad for you.
I know. And I see that you love them.
I do.
I think the world needs powdered macadamia flour. Everywhere you look, you see everyone's using this powdered peanut butter flour. It's not fair, man. It's not fair.
You know what? I had forgotten that I'd seen that, and you give me an idea, and I can share something else with you. So I left No, and I left No for a reason. I have spent my entire career helping founders of companies build amazing brands, and I've always wanted to do one for myself, but I never had found something that I had enough passion for to really say, all right, I'm going to roll the dice and start a company. Until now, I have crazy passion for the ketogenic diet. I have crazy passion for product development and bringing really awesome, things to market. I'm not seeing anything out there yet that me as a keto consumer is gaga over. I mean, there's a few products that are okay, but nothing's amazing. And so I'll be bringing some amazing things to market. And macadamia flour, that's interesting. There's some things that can be done with that. So, all right.
Okay, let's talk.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I mean, I have nothing.
But by the way, you did touch on something else. Just talking keto in general. Keto is a metabolic state, and you can reach a metabolic state eating crappy foods or eating nutritious foods. And there's so much like weird debate about that online. It is what it is. So the benefits that come from being in a ketogenic state can be had from eating not awesome foods, but there's even better benefits to be had when you have wholesome, nutritious foods and you're in a ketogenic state. So you're having to do that just because you don't have an option, just autoimmune issues that you're having to deal with. But and I have to as well. I don't have any formal autoimmune disorders, but I definitely have insulin sensitivity issues, and my entire body aches whenever I eat gluten and grains and stuff like that. So so I have to, just to feel good, follow a paleo keto protocol. But I just say that only because you can be vegetarian, you can be vegan, you can be whatever, and find ways of being in a ketogenic metabolic state and still benefit from all the great things that come with it.
100%. I'm so glad that you touched on that. My biggest thing is knowledge that I've learned. I want to share it because there's so much misinformation out there, not just in keto world, just in nutrient world alone. And like you, I do believe a paleo plus ketogenic diet is optimal, and pretty much all of that. Like I always say, lean meats, green veg. It's not that hard.
And it's so yummy. So
exactly, it's a win-win.
Right.
Yeah. So my last question, I think you kind of already answered it, but what's the future for you?
I'm launching a whole new food brand, and I'll even share the name of it with you right now. It's Heka Foods, spelled Heka, Heka Foods. And Heka happens to just be the Egyptian god of healing and magic. So I in many ways think of food as something you can magically heal yourself with. So that's where the name comes from.
Nice.
Expect there to be some insanely delicious keto snacks on their way through the Heka brand.
Amazing. You heard it here first.
You did.
Cool, man. Well, Yemeni, thank you so much for your time. And,
my pleasure.
Learned a lot, and I hope we can continue, connecting.
Likewise. And then hit me up about the mac nut flour. See if there's some baking properties that we can use it with.
For sure. Okay, all man. Have a great day.
You too.